Exactly.
Because I have to say, it's not looking good for an LPL Worlds win this year. Which, I mean, we said it looked good for an LPL Worlds win last year, and Korea won, so God only knows. But the LPL level is definitely lower on the whole compared to what it was
By the way,
last year.
Monty, here's what's sad. Part of me will always be box office and play up the fun and entertainment angle, but I'll just give the real take first. The real take is it's actually sad that the Gen.G T1 series wasn't a banger. Obviously, we waited the whole fucking time. We talked about it all those times. Like that actually sucks because obviously there's not that many matches because we don't have we're using league formats. Like when you have league formats, you have to really savor the equivalent of the televised match, like the big Christmas Eve game. That's what these matches are to me. But bro, like that was such a whack match. Now I will say, if I flip it to comedy, obviously, when I'm thinking of those T1 stands, that was straight fire, that game where they had 0 kills, Monty. That was fucking top keck, aka hilarious. Oh, I'm loving that. And not only that, but this is why, in a fucked up way, I don't mind that they re-signed the T1 lineup. Because, Monty, what the fuck are the T1 fans going to say if Gen.G wins 4 splits in a row with totally different lineups against the same T1 lineup? What are they actually going to do if they lose 4 in a row? Because right now, Gen.G just looks like they're just going to win, mate. Like, but this line really has worked. They're just too good.
That's the T1 fan conundrum, right? Is that you basically just have to mentally retreat into your castle of only Worlds matters, and then ignore simultaneously, though, Thorin, if only Worlds matters, you have to ignore the fact that they got completely embarrassed in an unlikely underdog victory by DRX in 2022, where they absolutely should have mega clapped DRX in those finals, and they completely fucking dropped the ball. And
I love that, by the way. I love the fact that a T1 fan understands T1 was meant to beat DRX, but then the next year, JDG didn't win those, so just accept it, loser. It's like, I can't even handle this. Like, it's the same fucking logic. Like, but they won't give any quarter as usual. No quarter.
I think the difference is like I did predict I thought T1 was the favorite at that point in the tournament against JDG last year, whereas like year before, obviously I thought T1 was going to win those finals versus DRX. Like that was just completely insane that DRX won that world championship, and not reflective of any performance at any point in time from that DRX roster previously, right? Whereas there were very good reasons to believe that JDG, with their dominant run, their lack of, they didn't even lose a best of 5 up until that point in that year, that they would continue on that role. Plus, we couldn't have guessed that Kanavi would become a double agent and sabotage JDG from within. That was the wild thing that we couldn't predict. But yeah, I mean, it is very surprising that it happened this way. I do think that T1 had a notion coming into this series, and I think it was a good notion, that basically Pays and Lehens have been weaker as a duo in the laning phase for a lot of the split, but they had been getting better heading into the T1 match. Like there was noticeable improvement compared to their weakness earlier in this year. And so I think that T1 just wanted to prioritize, okay, we're just going to first pick Lucian on the blue side, and we'll just take Lucian Nami and just kick your head into the bot lane, and that'll be it, right? Because Pays hasn't been the best Lucian player in his career. He hasn't even been the best Lucian player this year. In terms of he's like 3-2 on Lucian. He hasn't been like one of the crazier Lucians. He actually has a 46% win rate in his entire career, whereas he has been an Aphelios and Zeri player. Now, what they didn't anticipate is that this was just going to be him then picking his best champion, which is probably Aphelios, with Lulu in that bot lane in game number 1, because Aphelios is kind of on the fringe of the meta right now, but Aphelios Lulu is a powerful lane into Lucian Nami. And clearly, like, they were expecting the Lucian pickup within this matchup, because that has been something that T1 has done. It is the most played champion by Gumayusi this split, with Senna being second. So this was predictable, and I think that on red side, Gen.G had answers. They also did some very clever things in the draft. So, for example, this is a patch with nerfed Cassante. So the patch is 14.4. And this is the patch in which Cassante has been toned down a little bit. And they picked it. But the thing you have to remember on red side is that it's still probably a flex pick for Gen.G because Chovy himself is a Cassante player.
Yes.
So it gave them a lot of freedom to kind of R5, a potential mid lane pickup, gave them a good matchup where Chovy played amazingly well on Corki into Faker's LeBlanc. Also, I think it has to be said that Faker probably is getting hurt by this patch because Azir is disabled on 14.4. Chovy has played a lot of Azir himself, but Chovy has had a larger champion pool than Faker,
of course,
that we've seen so far this split. So that's another point of consideration. And Canyon was great in this series. His Rel, he's been playing Rel all season. He kind of has switched, it looks like, from defaulting from the Maokai over to the Rel pick. Rel just looks incredibly but broken in the jungle right now, by the way, like really good. And Canyon has been really solid on it. And so I think when we look at T1, like their draft where, oh no, all of a sudden they're not hard winning the bot lane and Chovy is somehow winning the mid lane matchup with the Corki, and they blind pick Jason the top side and then lose that matchup as well. And then owner plays Jarvan because you think, oh, well, we'll just get on top of Aphelios with the Jarvan. Well, it's a lot harder to do that when there's a wild growth and you have significant amounts of CC. Like Jarvan doesn't really have a target to work with, and owner didn't get anything done in the early game. So, T1 felt like, oh, we're trying to win these lanes and snowball it. Didn't work. Gen.G scales better. They actually cruised to this win because, as you say, no, not even kills for T1. They got 2 towers and 1 Void Grub. If they hadn't gotten those, it would have been a perfect game, which is pretty crazy to think about.
Yes.
So it was.
It's not even like the second game was that much better, mate. They just got dusted completely.
Well, I what's funny, Thorin, is I thought the second game draft from T1 was a lot better, right?
Okay.
Here's what happens in the second game draft. All right, we ban the Aphelios. We still first pick Lucian. Okay. So we're going to give Pays the Callista. And we're going to give Lehens the Renata Glass. But we can counter Renata ult with Nami ult. Like we can use Tidal Wave. When we see the Renata ult coming out. Oh, what do we have? We have Poppy and Talia into Callista Ahri. Poppy is usually banned when you take Callista because when she jumps in and puts her W on, Callista can't fucking move. And Ahri also dash interrupts. You have Faker with Talia with E as well. That also stops Callista. Callista's a low range AD carry. It's not that hard to get on top of her with Poppy W or with, hit her with Unraveled Earth from Talia. And you have Ahri. So you have 2 ways to stop these dashing champions. You can also stop Canyon's engages on the Rel. And then they blind pick a TF, which is for Keen. I mean, it's for Keen because of the way Gen.G plays. And, Zeus has an opportunity to play Tristana in the top side, which is something Keen has done into Gnar, but it's not, I think this is the second game, I want to say, in Zeus's career where he's played Tristana top. It wasn't a lot.
He's definitely played it before.
Yeah, no, it was his first game, actually. It was his first game in his entire career. He has played Tristana top. Keen has played it twice now. Both of them have been into Gnar.
Oh, okay.
But this was his first game, so that came out of the blue, right? And he's like, oh, well, I can play into your Twisted Fate. I will have better pushing power. I have better all-in power. I'm going to take Cleanse. You take Exhaust. You use Exhaust on me when I jump in. I cleanse it, and then I kill you because I have a combat ult and you don't. You can also interrupt Twisted Fate using Tristana ult. So, there's a lot of possibilities here for the Tristana. So I liked these picks from T1. I was like, oh, this is a much better draft. This is playable. If owner goes bot, well, we might actually see some kills here. But Pays does some interesting things. They get some new tech out, which is that with a Rend nerf onto Callista, now he Q maxes with opportunity, which is intriguing. So he's more of like a poke Callista build. So he's also avoiding kind of getting in close range where he would have to jump around a lot and potentially be at risk of, stuns or interrupts from Poppy W or Talia E. So I think they, Pays and Lehens play the bot side very well. And, Gen.G gets some pretty substantial advantages and pushes them through. So it really felt, Thorin, like the Lucian priority was a mistake. And I think if you play this series again next week, it becomes much closer. I don't view this stomp that Gen.G issued as the only thing that T1 is capable of. I think that they came in with this like blue side Lucian first pick idea and it didn't work. And I think that if you give them another chance, they probably come up with something different.
The thing is, we've only got like 2 weeks left, though. So it's not.
I mean, we'll see it again soon. We'll see it again soon. But I think that they would definitely. Do something. They will do something different next time. And I don't think that they continue down this path over and over and over again, or that it's a lost cause for T1 because they're still a very good team.
Well, obviously, yeah.
See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.